Thank you for joining us for Barnstorm Dance Fest 2020 Digital Edition. I'm Molly Haven Miller, Executive Director of Dance Source Houston. On behalf of our board, staff, and all of the featured artists, we are so grateful for your participation in this year's on-screen festival. I encourage you to watch all 3 programs showcasing works by 17 dance makers from Houston, the region, and beyond. Programs A and B include documented live works, and Program C features all dance for camera works. Follow along with our suggested program order or choose your own adventure and curate your own lineup. Each link in the program listing will take you directly to the video of each choreographer or company's Vimeo, YouTube, or Google Drive link. Follow us on Facebook to see artist chats to get more insight on works presented on all 3 programs, as well as live stream classes led by festival choreographers. Join the conversation in our festival Facebook event and engage with choreographers, performers, and fellow audience members. Barnstorm Dance Fest is funded in part by Houston Endowment, Texas Commission of the Arts, and the City of Houston through Houston Arts Alliance. A huge thank you goes out to my DSH teammates, Brittany Bass and jhon Stronks, who helped make Barnstorm possible. We look forward to when it is safe to come together and enjoy dance in shared space again. Thank you so much for joining us in this format for Barnstorm Dance Fest 2020.
Hi, and welcome to the Barnstorm Dance Fest's digital chat series. My name is John. I am the programs manager for Dance Source Houston, and today I am going to be talking with Roberta Cortes, one of Dance Source Houston's residents for 2019-2020 season. Roberta's studio time was hosted by the Hunter Dance Center. So before I get started with Roberta, on behalf of Dance Source Houston, I would like to say thank you to Hunter Dance Center for their continued support and partnership. Roberta, are you there? Have you arrived?
I am here.
Hi, Roberta. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, John?
I am good. So I do want to say, first of all, it's been a pleasure and an honor to watch you work through this residency program that we have, and I am super excited to hear how it's working, how it didn't work, and what sort of new pathways that resistance may have facilitated for you. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know, go ahead and from there continue to reflect on your residency with whatever is most present on your mind.
So hi, my name is Roberta, and I am a contemporary dancer here in Houston. I am from Brazil, and I have been in Houston for quite some time now. And yeah, and I was one of the AIR that we call the residency program for Dance Source Houston. And I also want to say thank you to Hunter, and I want to say thank you to Laura Harrell, specifically because she's the person that I was always coming to and saying, can I go to the studio now? Even if I, had like a slight change in my schedule or anything like that, her availability and kindness, it's something that I'm very grateful for. And thank you, Amy, and thank you for everyone at Hunter. I was living there before COVID, so yeah. And thank you, John. You're always very available, and I really appreciate that. It's like your availability to facilitate work in Houston and conversations. And yeah, I really do appreciate it. So thank you for that. And thank you for Dance Source as well.
Yeah, you are most welcome. So let's just start with a sort of a structural question. Do you have any thoughts on how the structure of the residency or maybe any of the workshops what were the most impactful moments or the most challenging moments, anything that you decided you had to throw away, anything that you really sort of held on to because it was super helpful? Both of those things are awesome.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, actually, the residency, we pretty much in the fall. So when the season starts, that's when we have a lot of our cohort meetings. We actually have cohort meetings every month, and specific in the fall, we have workshops as well. And so on the workshops, there was particular 2 workshops that I felt like were really impactful for me. One is on branding, which I've taken before, and it's always a very somehow difficult workshop to take. I get very triggered by the whole concept of branding and really how branding goes and how branding is in dance. And I still work on it. So thank you for Terry and everyone that was in that workshop for their patience with me. And because I keep writing the same things and I keep getting to the same place, but not really. And the second workshop would be that we took was with Jessica, and it was the writing workshop.
Oh,
and
yeah, that was a great workshop.
yeah, it was a really good, yeah, you were. And that was a really good workshop. Just the way that she presented, I have taken workshops in writing before, and it specifically was in press release. And that the way that we did it, we just, it was a very interactive. And I thought that was brilliant. And I laughed, really lit up. And usually when I leave those workshops, not every time I'm lit up, and that time I was. So those two workshops were really impactful, and that's what's cool about the residency and the first half of the residency, that you do have the opportunity to be in learning with other people as well. And so that would be the two impactful. I would say the biggest challenge is always field work. And I do see completely see the importance of it. And I was challenged because by then we're not in the studio yet. So right. I was really struggling with presenting work. And granted, we could present anything. We could present music. We could present, any sketches of any. It could be anything from the creative process. And I still struggled a lot with that because I wasn't really in the studio yet at that point. So that was the things that really were in my mind. And then I progressed from that. I had a production schedule that it was really the commitments of the workshops and everything that we had in the fall. And then once the new year started, my goal was to just really create choreography. And I also had someone composing the whole score for my piece. So I knew that I wanted to work with the composer beforehand because I wanted to have the music ready before I started to even choreograph. So that was kind of like the process that I was in. And then COVID happened. And so the plan was to really do a lot of research. So my piece is really heavily inspired by the work of my cousin, jhon Paixao Cortes, and he is someone that has really created alongside with other people, but had been really influential in creating the foundation for tradition of the Gaucho tradition, which some of you might hear it Gaucho, or it's really the traditions of the south of Brazil. And in the traditions, meaning it's a really broad spectrum, like a music, dances, folkloric dances, also costumes. And so there's like a variety of things that he has been extremely influential and extremely important. His legacy is unbelievable. And he is my dad's cousin, and I was always very fascinated by his work and the pride that we all have for carrying the last name Paixao Cortes, and for really having that amazing person in our family. And so he had a statue of him, actually, when you come into my hometown, Porto Alegre, which is the capital of my state, which is Rio Grande do Sul. When you come in, you will see a big statue of him because that's the symbol of the city. So it's really a huge, reason to be proud of our family, and it's something that's the family heritage. Oddly enough, I never got into folkloric dances. I did some little things when I was little in school because we go through it in school. And I really didn't, because I got into ballet very early on, and that's all I did since I was very little. So what my proposal for the residency was to really research, to look into all the things that I thought I knew and all the things that I've seen, and create work that some sort of work that represented pride of and also that the music would emulate somehow some of my childhood memories, and that the creation of the movement will come a lot from that. So that was really my proposal. So, you know, my proposal before COVID, it still became the same proposal after COVID with slightly different things. So then what happened was I was really researching a lot when we got into a stop point, and I was going back and forth with the composer Thomas Helton to create the composition. We were hoping to bring other musicians in. My plan was to have a live performance on Barnstorm of 3 other dancers, perhaps me or not, and 2 or 3 other musicians. That was the plan. So I already had the dancers all set, Lindsay McGill, Seth MacPhail, and Melissa Ludwig. And then I was we were in the process, Thomas and I, of, you know, finding the other musicians. Then when we got into the stop, everything changed. and really the reason why it changed was, at first I didn't think we're going to do anything. You know, I think we all just got into the shock of what's going to happen. And then once, you know, you guys communicated that, you know, we were thinking of doing this festival Barnstorm online, and that you would like to still present our work, then there were a few days, maybe a whole week of freaking out of how, and a lot of freaking out. And then, you know, and then once we got like the confirmation, okay, this is happening, then I just reached out to the, you know, to the people. I reached out to the dancers first. And you know, mind you, we haven't had any rehearsals by then. Mm-hmm. My plan was to go home in April and talk to a few friends that were helping me. They were folkloric dancers in you know, in my hometown. And my plan was to polish my ideas and, you know, talk to them about it and get more ideas, come back, and then start rehearsal process in May. So when I reach out to them, really, and I said this before many times to other people, my first thing was, I don't even know if these people are going to answer. You know, we're all going through so much, and everybody is going to be dealing with differently. And it's definitely a challenge, to say the least. They all answer within 1 hour, I think, 2 hours. And that was something that made me extremely happy. And it helped me to move forward. Definitely helped me to move forward. And then I was like, okay, so then our rehearsals are going to have to be through, you know, this Zoom platform, which is, we all live in the planet Zoom now, and then figure out how we could do it. And we created a schedule. I was having a whole different schedule with the musician to get the final cut for the music from him. And then I started to, you know, create a little tiny corner on my living room to have as my studio. And I knew that any movement needed to be created in that space, because if I was going to ask anyone to dance in a small space with whatever floor, with whatever furniture around them, it had to be created for that space. So any other idea that I had was completely tossed by then. And then I was like, okay, so the movement is this now. And so I kind of like started increments rather of 20 seconds for myself. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, today I will create 20 seconds. And then I would see the dancers. And very early on, we noticed that the audio would not sync, and with everyone in their different homes. And so that was a huge challenge that I think everybody took extremely graciously. We kind of started tweaking the music, so the versions were not the final yet, which didn't help them either. And I never gave them counts. And so then I started to really, okay, so what is this piece going to be? And then I kind of like tossed some of the research that I did, actually, and I went back into, you know, my very good best friend, Lindsay. In the beginning of this process, I think I was doubting myself a lot. And I just kept like reaching for research and reaching for people. And she said something that was really profound that just stayed with me through the whole process, which is, yeah, you might have everything that you need inside of you. Like it's you have it, you've lived. And so then I kind of like went back to that. And I tossed a lot of the research that I did before. Not tossed, of course, but you know, I decided to just put it aside and then go into my experience in the Gaucho tradition, and my experience and as being a woman in a tradition that you know, it's quite interesting how women are not represented in it. And so when so then I shifted my research into that. And then I started opening all of these old books that I got, that people sent it to me. And I couldn't find one single woman in any of the books, any of them. I just found lots of man and pictures of man and I couldn't find. And so then I started to go deeper into that. What is that about? And really to be more essential into what I found was something that I've lived.
Mm.
That's the thing. And that's why it has always been inside of me. What I found was the root of what I've always lived with. It was a very misogynistic culture where the women are just really raised to be, the provider of the home and raised to have children and to, be quiet and really to understand that the men are stronger and then the men are just going to be the ones that are going to provide for the house and nothing wrong with that at all. And what I really started to noticing is that in the lack of representation, I started to listen to the music, to the traditional music that I've always sing along. And now I actually could hear the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some of them are quite awful, quite violent and awful, referring to women as, a horse that they just settle up and settle in, things like that, it's just you sing along because that's all you know.
Right.
And, and I'm very grateful and I'm very fortunate to have been raised by what I call my mom. I wish we could translate this. I call my mom a closeted feminist. And so, and I always have. And so she is someone that, has taught me to be independent, has taught me to be strong, and has taught me to be after whatever I wanted, whether it is staying inside the home and taking care of the kids or whether it is, pursuing something else. So I've never fit the mold. And I knew that. I knew that I never fit the mold. But then as more that I kept looking into the research, then things started to line up. Then the stats about violence against women start to line up. And then, the fear that I've had or still have sometimes when I walk around in my hometown and what I have to wear. So that I have to make sure that I wear something that really covers my body in a way that I feel safe or safer. And things really understanding that then, whenever I go clubbing, I have to put my hands in my back because someone is going to try to grab my butt. So if I put my hands in my back, then I would just shush the hand. And I always spoke about that in a joking manner. It was always kind of like a joke. And then now it's oh, now it's clicking. It's oh my gosh, it's not a joke. It's unacceptable. And that goes, really with the place in society that women kept being placed in specifically in this culture. So I'm not saying that, the traditions and all of that, I'm not saying that it's all lost. What I'm saying is that there's layers to it. And what I've learned too are that, when I kept looking into folkloric dances to inspire the movement from, I just noticed that women were inserted later on. And I thought, I was why? And then I started reading the books, and it's just really because the man needed a partner. And it kind of was weird if they were all dancing by themselves. So then that was when the women got inserted into the traditional folkloric dances. And I thought that was also extremely profound and signifies so much. And that was it. That was when I kind of got it. That's how I feel. I was gotten by. Maybe I was gotten by the piece. I don't think I got the piece, but I was gotten by the piece. So then I realized that that's what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about there is some joy, and there's definitely joy into the traditions that I was born and grew up with. And I'm also extremely proud. And then the question that I kept journaling was, how can I be proud? And how can I still honor tradition, understanding that that doesn't work for me?
Yeah, that is the question, I think, before us now globally with this current uprising in response to social justice. And I think it's really, I'm so happy for you that you were able to dive so deeply into something that you initially thought was about someone else, and it ended up being about you discovering what I'm hearing is that like you're discovering what it is, what those cultures are and what they mean for you. And your statement about your mom being a undercover closeted feminist, I have a very similar experience with my mother, and so that completely resonates. That idea of believing in the idea of what family can be, and that it is not always what family isn't always what it family is what it is, but it isn't the same everywhere. Not everyone has the same kind of family. Not everyone has the same relationship to culture. And I think that one of the things that this process is sort of revealing for you and maybe exempling is that idea of how artists can look at culture and can look at tradition and see the multiple worlds that exist inside of that. And I always think about like the moment sort of like in terms of like maturation, like as I grow up and continue to grow up, and I become aware of something that I wasn't aware of before. In that moment, I have a choice to either give up and allow the thing that I'm seeing that I want to change to continue, or I have I make the choice to say no. I'm going to talk about this, and yeah, those pathways are really fascinating. So thank you for sharing that. That's so exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. So we're almost at time for this chat. We will get together with the other two heirs, and you guys will get into some shop talk. But do you have any final thoughts, or you know, what you think you might be doing next? Do you think that you will eventually shift the work from being a camera dance back to a live performance, or do you not know yet? That you may not know yet.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I have no idea at all. I feel like what I want to say, you know, really that I think it's important for me to be said and for you to hear, and you and everybody that will hear this, is that through this process, since the lockdown and working with the dancers and communicating with them, and working with the musician, communicating with him, the same with the person that is doing the video with me, how grateful I am for them. This would not happen without them. I am in awe of their generosity in availability through this time, you know, and carving time to actually turn on computer and doing something that we have never done before, which is rehearsing through a screen. And it just shows me like how resilient and generous artists are. And I am truly, truly grateful for, you know, Thomas Helton, Lindsay McGill, Seth MacPhail, Melissa Woodwick, and Andre Amaral, because they are doing this process with me, and they also believe in what I'm saying. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be as available and as generous as they are. So I want to thank them, and just, you know, I am extremely, extremely grateful. This would not happen without them, and I'm just so proud of what we have accomplished. And I'm gonna do two versions. I'm gonna do one with text in English and one in text in Portuguese.
Wonderful.
Because I really wanna share this more, as I've been living here for so long. It's hard for people to follow anything that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping to be able to reach people back home with this work as well.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me today, Roberta. It's been a pleasure. And it's been a pleasure working with you this entire year. And I can't wait to see what you're making. Yay, dance. So yeah, I guess we'll say goodbye to each other, and I'll see you again when we get to the group chat, which will happen later on in this process. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you later. Bye.
Thank you.